Today I have my good friend and one of my colleagues, an advisor named Dustin Lester, joining me. He's going to go through three things that are limiting mindsets that are going to hold people back from seeing the most successful results when they look at their investments. I'm really excited for today. I have my good friend Dustin Lester, brilliant advisor. I've gotten a privilege of working with him for almost 10 years now. And Dustin, thanks for making time, man, to be here and spend time with me.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had the privilege of getting to work with you and getting to see a lot of things you've done for clients and different people that we get a privilege of serving together. Dustin helps us here at Nations First with all of our clients that have needs for the things that he does. Can you kind of give people just a little bit of your background and what you do and what your firm's all about?
Yeah, sure. We basically are wealth management and financial planners, and so there's a little bit of a wide range of people who do that. And so really at our firm, what we do is we start everybody with a holistic financial plan. That just means we want all the information about you and data. These fancy words aren't important, but basically if the person who's working on you and is your doctor doesn't know you, they're probably going to make really terrible recommendations to you for your health. And we believe the same process should be utilized within a structure of your financials as well, because there are different specialties, there's different people. What we like to act as, in a lot of cases, depending on our relationship, like our working relationship might be structured different, but we like to act as a quarterback in that situation. We like to help people, look at the whole picture and then make decisions that are based on that whole picture, as opposed to worrying about one particular product or one particular type of product, like 529 plan is less important to the conversation than do you want to pay for your children's college. So the conversation isn't around those things as much when we're first starting out and we're first working together, and then later what we try to do is assemble the right recommendations based on what that looks like. Let's say they do need an income annuity and they need some things that are guaranteed and that's valuable to them, then that's where you guys might come in, because we don't guarantee income. We're investment people. And so ultimately, our process is planning focused. It is intensely on you and your situation as a client, what you want, and sometimes you won't know those answers. So that's why it's important to do it. Yeah. And then ultimately, at the end, we have an ongoing relationship with our clients who want that, who want fee-based asset management, and that's something that we work with them to do custom portfolio design and implementation. And so multiple steps, but ultimately, I feel like that's the easiest way to explain it. Yeah. We're not on the phone selling stocks to you overnight, whatever it is that you see on the movies. It's much more like visiting an accountant's office and talking about things that are important, but maybe not on the top of your mind all the time.
That's so valuable. And, it's cool is because, I've worked with Dustin, his firm, for a long time, because I've gotten to see how they take care of people, how they serve people. And, I really believe in playing your strengths, where we specialize in, retirement income and safer strategies. You guys specialize in helping people to manage their wealth. Yeah. And so, I retained your firm to help with my, personal solo K. And so, but it's important that I let everyone know who's watching, we don't have any type of agreements amongst us for any type of compensation anyway. I purely refer people out to you because I've seen the quality of your work and you do amazing things for people. And so I really believe in what you guys are doing. So with that being said, we're both very mission focused on the people we get to serve every day. And I think we were talking before this about there's three types of people we keep running into right now. And I want to touch on those and unpack that to see if we can really speak to those people. Because I don't know if you feel this way, Dustin, but I feel like a lot of times people will get their information from the news or somebody trying to sell them something. They get really stricken with fear or some type of quick motivation to make decisions that may not be in alignment with their long-term objectives. Right. Yeah. So how do you talk about these three people that you're seeing all the time? And then how are you reaching them at their level to help them make the best choices for their circumstances?
It's a good question. And again, if we're dividing the whole world up into three people, we're obviously making massive generalizations.
Sure.
So, so before that, you may not fit into any three if you're watching this, but
sure.
ultimately, if we had to identify, a trend within our audience of what we're seeing as people come to us for advice, is there are some people who are incredibly optimistic. I'll call them the techno optimists. They're the people who are looking around and going, holy cow, we have this. Like, I don't know if you remember the argument you had with your third grade teacher where you were like, why the hell am I learning fractions? When am I ever going to use this? And she's like, you know, he was like, hey, are you going to have a calculator in your pocket? And
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I do. I got, not only that, I got AI in my,
Yeah.
so anyways, you got those people. You have the people who think that no matter what, humanity's march forward is happening. Technology is the panacea, and they want to invest accordingly. And so, you know, those are fun. Another big type is people who are afraid. There is a lot to be afraid of right now, and this is a fair conversation to have because, you know, they're talking about American troops now being used in the war against Russia, which is never been thought of before. I've never heard of that. You should be worried about that. You should have a question about that with your money. That's okay. And so ultimately, you know, we're seeing a lot of people who get a lot of their information from the news. The news sells fear. They sell bipartisanship. They sell, you know, a lot of things that I don't, and I never will. And I don't think anybody should. And so for those clients, our job is to really understand what it is that they're saying, what it is they're actually feeling, and to help them make better decisions about their future based on those fears, because those fears can't become more powerful than their plan. You know, if their plan, if they had in their moral structure, let's say, I want to take care of my parents if they get sick, you know, and you put a plan in place for that, and then they get fearful because they watch the news. Do you want to unravel your whole plan now and give up that value and give up taking care of your parents?
Right.
Is that what we're talking about? Or we're just saying you're afraid, you know? And so that's the process that's very difficult for people who are afraid, because fear and greed drive almost everything when you really get down to it in humanity. And so there we have the fearful bunch, and then we have the hyper partisan people. They're not afraid. They're more tribal, you know, they may be on the conservative or the liberal side. And again, our job is to bring the conversation back to how business works and how information works and how corporations make money. You know, people can get mad about, like, you know, some random law and then somehow correlate it back to, you know, their stock in Hyundai. I'm like, what? They're different, you know, like if you don't like this political candidate, that doesn't mean that you don't evaluate this investment like a real investor does, you know. And so those conversations can be very difficult because, again, now you're dealing with ideology, and the answer there isn't to challenge the ideology, it's to ask how the ideology is, like, is that even, I don't even correlated to this conversation. Like, I get it, but if you believe in the Lord, it doesn't really impact, you know, if you're Christian or you're Muslim, it doesn't really impact whether or not Exxon is a good company. I don't know if Exxon's a good company, but, you know, it just doesn't matter based on those faiths. Now, you know, we can have those conversations, and that's the, you know, that's why it's there. But that's a very common thing that we're dealing with now, is people who really just can't turn off their side and look at everything through the lens of politics. And then if you look at everything through the lens of politics, then your investing philosophy becomes skewed. It isn't honest anymore because it's ideological based. And it's very difficult for an asset manager to then anticipate how your ideology is going to change. And so our relationship can't be based that way. It has to be based on fundamentals and planning.
Wow.
And that's hopefully the discipline that we help in put in place with our clients during those conversations, because they don't really see that sometimes. They're told, oh, don't do this if you're in our tribe. It's like, who made the tribe, dude? Like, I don't get it. And so that's the, you know, that's kind of where we're at. That's what we see more and more and more. But again, we have absolutely normal conversations with a business owner who just wants to save money on taxes. And, like, that's normal. And that's you know, but if we had to kind of see a trend in people in terms of how they're coming to us and what they're wanting to talk about, those are kind of my three big ones. So what about you? Are you seeing anything different?
No, that's huge. I see that all the time. I mean, I run 25, 30 meetings a week, and I'm
Right.
having this conversation with people every day about, you know, when they're approaching their retirement and certain risks they want to remove and things they're
Right.
concerned about. these conversations always come up. And so I think it's important to try to figure out how people feel, where they're getting their information from, what their core beliefs are, and
Yeah.
then really understand their priorities and then help them to make the best decisions. Like you said, going back to the fundamentals, having a process, a framework to think about these things, and that isn't just political and sense based and rooted in, things that we do, like, when we do like a risk analysis for someone, right? These things
Right.
are just important. So, last question I want to ask you, and this comes up all the time, and I want to know how you handle this. A lot of people, whether it's people that are political or they're fearful or they're in a whole nother camp altogether, a lot of people are very concerned about going to a digital dollar. I'm getting
Mhm.
a lot of people that are concerned about that. What is your take on that? Because you're seeing like the Federal Reserve come out with their, version. You're seeing all these different things happening right now, executive orders. People are
Well,
concerned. What is your take on the digital dollar? What are you telling your clients who are concerned about that transition?
um, well, I think it's important for me to make sure I have there's a there's something called the central bank digital currency, and then there's the dollar. The dollar is already digital. The dollar does about 6 trillion a day in digital transactions where there's no money involved. It's already the standard in the world, and it's already the most digitized thing ever, basically. I mean, I don't think there's anything else that is that size and is that used all over the world as an institution like the dollar is. So what I would say is that you already have that. Right now, you have a Federal Reserve that's completely misaligned with the federal government because the Federal Reserve wants to tighten and the federal government wants to print trillions of dollars in debt that we don't, for budgets that, are big. And so what I guess people need to understand is that we already do have a digital currency. Right now, when the Federal Reserve needs an extra $1 trillion, they go to a computer and they type 5 keys and they create $1 trillion and they go, here you go, there's your money. It's an interesting conversation to have with somebody because then I'm like, okay, now what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of that? Or are you
Right.
afraid of some other weird, what do you mean? What do you think is going to happen? And they're like, oh, what most people are doing in that scenario is they think that the government will become a totalitarian that will freeze your bank accounts if you have the wrong thoughts. And the answer to that is that very well could happen. And just like any generation, it'll be your decision and your choice whether or not you want to fight tyranny. But that can't, again, that can't change the fact that NVIDIA, what the hell? Like,
Right.
holy crap, like, what is this company doing? Like, I want to know more about it. Like, it has nothing to do with it. And so, again, what we're doing is we're getting like conflated conversations. If you want to go get a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and have a conversation about, where I think governments always should be kept in check by the people. And so the answer is, yeah, that's something to be worried about. But again, I don't think everybody should try to go, do Bitcoin and transact that way because it's incredibly expensive and incredibly inefficient.
Yeah.
But central banks' digital currencies, I think, are a natural evolution, unfortunately, of fiat currency systems. Because, I mean, let's just ask the question out loud. What the hell is the point of a penny? When was the last time you used a penny?
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's like, why is there any change? Why it should not be 43.82. It's just 44. It's $44. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like this is just a waste of time. So the answer is I don't know, but the whole system right now isn't great and doesn't make any sense when you start thinking about it. And so when you really get into it, what people think is a central bank digital currency is what they're really afraid of. They're afraid of the government turning off access to your own assets because of the thought police and because you're on the wrong side of that thought police. That's a real risk. They did that in Canada. You know, Canada, they just stole the money from all the truckers.
Mhm.
And I don't know why. Somehow they just walked into the banks, and the banks were like, "Cool, we'll just help you steal all this money," and they did. And so, but again, that wasn't a central bank digital currency. If the government is like that, they're going to do that regardless. And so, it just doesn't matter, in my opinion. But that's the delineation that I try to make with people. We already have basically the best digital currency ever created. There isn't anything like it. And nothing comes close. I know they're trying to do bricks. That's a whole nother conversation we can have.
Right. Well, that's awesome. I mean, it's very insightful and I appreciate it. And this is the importance of having a team, right? Dustin's somebody on my team that when I need to make a big decision, when I need to think something through, and I need somebody who's impartial and give me some guidance, I call Dustin. And so, Dustin, if people want to reach you, where's the best place to get in touch with you and your firm?
Yeah, our website is www.alpharisingwm.com. So ALPHARISING and then WM for wealthmanagement.com. You can call us there. You can email us. You can give me a call at any time. Do you want me to give my phone number? Is that how we do this? Or
Yeah, we'll link it. We'll link it down
okay,
below.
yeah, we'll just link all the contact info, but or they can get in touch with you, and again, we can sit down as a team, and you can take the stuff that you're specializing. And so I think either way, but just reach out like you normally would,
Perfect.
And we'll find you. Yeah, I promise.
We'll make sure it happens. We really appreciate the insights. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here, Dustin.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want more content from Dustin, check out this video right here where we talk about variable life insurance.